Hello, everyone. Welcome to another session of CareersPlus Plus, powered by DN69 in collaboration with AIT Entrepreneurship Center. I'm your host, Jennifer, and today's session is about life planning and personal architecture, designing life beyond career. This session will help you align career choices with broader life goals. Think across multiple time horizons. Build a structured approach to decision making. Design a life that integrates work, relationship, health, and purpose. The goal is to move from what career should I choose to what life am I designing. So far, we have explored career strategy and personal growth. But careers are only one part of life. Many people build careers first and try to adjust life later. This often leads to imbalance. Today, we reverse that approach. We start with life and design career around it. So I would like to welcome the co-founder of CareersPlus Plus, Mr. Bhargav Mohandas, to take us through the workshop today, life planning and personal architecture. Welcome, Mr. Bhargav.
Thank you so much. Good afternoon, everyone. So today is very much like amalgamation of all the sessions we had. It's more of like what to say. It's like a highlight. If the entire 14 sessions that we had so far was a show, so today's is very much like a highlight. Keeping a core focus on what we spoke during our last session, when we discussed that if we tend to live a life where our careers start stressing our life instead of becoming a part of it and make it better. So today we'll focus on that aspect, that how we can do that, and a lot of content that we discussed today have already been discussed in depth in earlier sessions. So we might just some of them we might just run over quickly for the sense of time. So let's start with life planning. So what is life planning? For most of us who are about to start our careers or are in a certain phase, initial phase, actually a lot of time we try and define ourselves with what we do for our career. And we feel that there is no difference. Basically, how we grow in our career, that defines our life. But if we really see it from the broader perspective, and especially I personally can say from the journey that I have lived until now, so life planning should be a process of defining what matters to us the most, the values basically, And based on that, once we can define that, structure our priorities. And once we know these two aspects, then focus on making the right decisions that is aligned with that long-term vision. So when we talk about defining what matters to us, meaning what? The things that make us feel good in the real sense, not in some materialistic sense. The things that give us the feel-good factor, those are the values actually, that defines us. And the moment we realize that, we have a sense on which way to go. So what are the aspects? You see, we've been trying to say career is a part of life, not the other way around. So that's why when we talk about the process of planning our life, we need to focus on at least the 5 core values. Career is definitely, it is perhaps the center of it. But if we take career as the core, we should also focus with equal importance health, relationships, finances, and personal growth. Why? Because suppose we are doing very good in that so-called career path, but we fall sick almost every other day. So does that really work? It doesn't, right? It's not worth it. Similarly, we must have been at the pinnacle of our success, but then when we talk about relationship, well, we hardly have any idea that if we have a good thing to share with whom, if we have some sorrow to share with whom, does it really work? Well, I mean, we come across some statements by so-called, because in today's time, I think we speak about alpha people, whatever alpha, beta, theta. I mean, I'm not very familiar with those nomenclatures, but I think alpha is what is seen to be someone who, I mean, we love ourselves, and that is that is sufficient. But well, does that really, whoever would say something like this, they must have had some psychological disbalance, or just faking the fact that they don't have someone, as far as a good relationship is concerned. Finance, very important too. It's very, very essential at the same time, because we might have everything, but financially we are broken, and that also gives severe hardship in life. And personal growth, I mean, we have been, I think, talking about it up to number of times, that how keeping ourselves growing with every day by learning, we've been talking about what continuous learning, enhancement of skills, like getting diversification in our interests, everything is related to this aspect of personal growth. So if we take career as a way to highlight, keeping it as a core, and then we give equal amount of importance towards a strong health, good health, strong relationships, stable finance, and continuous personal growth, that basically defines a well-planned life, So I already have emphasized on this during our last session. I'm repeating it again. That career is just a part of life. It cannot be the whole of it. So that's why, I mean, if any one of us are simply getting stressed out about the so-called career thing is not happening, just, stay resilient and focus on the positivities around us. We have someone who's also part of this discussion, who was quite stressed out not so long ago, because in order to pursue the desired career, a lot of people had been contacted and no responses were been given. But now when it came from a source where it was least expected. So this is what, we just need to continue doing the best we can, and things would be taken care of. Now, coming to the danger of unplanned growth, and I am one of the very stark example of this. Today I'm talking about this work-life balance, considering work being part of life and whatever. But I lived this life until not so long ago, where everything was associated only with work and the success and associated with it, and then if it doesn't happen, get all the negativities within me. So so I'm just trying to share, like I think I've been trying to share with all of you, that Careers Plus Plus, for me personally, it's more about sharing, what to do and what not to do. And most of the things that I've been raising out there about things not to do, I have experienced them, almost each of them. So without further ado, so what are the probable dangers that can come across if we just have an unplanned growth, if it just happens suddenly? So a lot of time, yes, it happens without any planning. We may keep on changing opportunities without a precise direction. Any opportunity come our way, we want to grab each of them. Just thinking that, okay, considering that to be some sort of a recognition of a huge, what we call it, strike rate. A lot of people like to have nice strike rates. So that may happen. Sometimes success may not even bring satisfaction, because we are a bit directionless in what we are choosing, right? So the more comes our way, more we get, and we have more and more hunger, because this kind of things sometimes are referred as very strong, positive, alpha level kind of enthusiasm, that, my hunger never finishes. But that is another way of thinking it, that actually I'm a miserable person. No matter whatever good happens to me, I'm never satisfied, right? So that is the second thing, and when this happens, at some point of time, an imbalance will happen. It's bound to happen when we keep on relentlessly running after things without proper plan, when we feel that no matter whatever we achieve, we are always hungry, we stay, like, of course, I mean, there had been a great saying by a great man, stay foolish, but we all know what happened to him eventually, right? Of course, I mean, he created a great product for all of us, but what was he himself fully content? Did he had a great life? Did his life concluded very well? We all know. I think there is no point of debating that. So when we stay hungry and stay foolish throughout, well, we end up, of course, momentary success, accolades, everything might come, but eventually, we may have some share of our, but he was a great man with great amount of resilience, so he could resist it all and still be happy about his life. But does does any one of us would have that level of resilience and ability? So we just need to see, like, stay hungry, stay foolish kind of mindset. Of course, it might work for someone with that level of energy and resilience. So that's why, like, when we keep on doing things meaninglessly, we just come across the common outcomes are burnout, regret, misalignment, depression. We have actually touched base upon all these four aspects quite a few times, so I won't be going more into it. That their name themselves suffice to let us feel the danger associated with that. So now going back to the aspect that we discussed in the second slide, right? That life architecture, the core areas. So of course, we talked about 5 of the core aspects, right? Career, health, relationships, financial stability, and personal growth, which I already elaborated, so won't go, to furthermore. But if we maintain these 5, a balance amongst these 5, so automatically that creates the number 6 core aspect, which is legacy. So that brings a lasting impact, not only for ourselves, but also we can literally influence others' lives in a far more meaningful way. So this is why, like when we maintain the balance, right? So the thing is that how we maintain the balance, I think we need to put some clear perimeters around us. So different people might have different ways of doing it, but the thing is that one way, legacy, we cannot put any parameter. It's a byproduct. It eventually happens, right? So if we can put some parameters across health, relationships, financial stability, and of course personal growth, and still whatever is happening at our career is an acceptable level, right? What is an acceptable level? We all can source through our career. I mean, we all have come from different backgrounds, different field of study, different different perhaps interests and whatnot, but definitely we can learn from our peers, learn from our seniors, and we can see how a career definitely usually grows, right? So automatically based on that we can also plan that how our career should grow, and then keep certain parameters. For example, health. That means what is a basic target for health? Okay, we would effort to fall sick only once a year or something like that, right? So what is needed to do that, we'll do that, right? Relationships, the same thing, right? That, okay, how well we are connected with our relationships, right? On the real sense, not on the, relationships should never be such that, okay, at least for the people who are really good, good well-wishers for us, it should be at least that irrespective of whatever is the requirement out of that person, we should have a healthy communication flow, right? It's not like that, okay, when we have some requirement, then we reach out, otherwise we don't even remember them, right? Financial stability, of course, financial stability is what, I mean, we should be very clearly aware of what are the basic necessities in life, and are we being able to fulfill all those basic necessities and still have a healthy backup, right? Personal growth, I think it's as simple as that. I think as long as we're learning something new on a daily basis, so we are growing ourselves, right? And that's how the legacy, again, as I said, it'll be something, it'll be created as a byproduct if we can maintain a good balance across the five. So now, like, aligning career with life, so it's just an expansion of what I just addressed moments back. So whenever we want to align, so these are the key questions that we have to ask. That what lifestyle do I want? I think it's very essential, right? And it has to be realistic too. So if the lifestyle is basically right from within a year or two of joining a new job, we really want to have a lifestyle that someone who, after gains in the usual platform, after working for 10 to 15 years, then we have to be prepared accordingly. If we really want to accelerate our progress that fast, then automatically we have to know that, okay, we have to day in, day out, and we cannot complain about it. That goes to the second one, that what work environment suits me. So if suppose lifestyle wise we want to see that, okay, we want to achieve those materialistic things that someone else would achieve after working for 10, 15 years, but at the same time we want to be in that, comfort zone where we go to work at 9, at 5 we sharp, 5 sharp we go back home, weekends we don't even check emails, things like that, then there is a serious conflict, right? So that's why we have to ask these two questions to ourselves, and then adjust accordingly, right? Then only we can make some realistic assumption of ourselves, and that decides the third one, that, okay, if what lifestyle do I want and what work environment suits me, it's not matching, then we have to do some trade-offs either from the lifestyle or from the environment, either of the two, right? So basically the thing is that if we want a very posh lifestyle which is governed by a lot of money and luxury, but work environment we want is a very safe, cozy, a 9 to 5 Monday to Friday kind of this thing, then of course then we have to do a trade-off, that which one we are ready to whether we are going to trade off with some of the things in the lifestyle or in the work environment, or both. These three things are very basic if we can see it from that perspective. But what happens most of the times, we are human, we want the best of everything, so that's where sometime eventually the frustrations come up. Because if we can align these things properly, that assures that the growth remains sustainable, because then only we are realistic. Otherwise we are doing things based on some perceived sort of like some misconstrued emotional guidelines. But if we can align ourselves, then of course the growth can be very sustainable, and we remain emotionally balanced, because then we know that what we are trying, it's not something that's not achievable, and that governs, that assures long-term satisfaction. So that's why, like, when we align our career with our requirement in life, that automatically becomes very supportive. It doesn't then stress ourselves up, because it happens a lot of time. People would simply like in English we have a very nice proverb, like that the grass is always green on the other side. So that's what exactly is the thing, that people don't tend to see, that how the other side, first of all, if it is really green, and if it is, then how it remained green. So obviously I think this is something we already have discussed in a different context, though, but here also, like, the same thing. Basically, sometime if we don't have absolute clarity on how we want things, then okay, we can just break it down into shorter tenors, that okay, just immediate action plan right away after we get into our career movement, like when we start becoming self dependent in terms of our earnings and all, and then seeing that how much we could stick to that 1 year plan, then we can make a very easily 3 years plan. That will be basically a focus on direction and positioning, that where am I heading, and once we reach that, perhaps we can proceed towards the next 10 years, because by that time normally a career gets a very sound shape, and that perhaps create a good foundation of a life going forward. But you know, but the thing is that clarity always improves. Like the thing is, but if in 10 years time we still don't get clarity, then we really need to do some serious, sort of like a self assessment, self introspection, and also retrospection of the things that happened over the previous 10 years. That's very important, because ideally depends on individuals. Certain people are so focused that 1 to 3 year might be sufficient for them to have absolute clarity on which direction they want to go. 10 years is a realistic time frame, because by that time I think we have enough exposure and experience to at least judge that, okay, we have now clarity, and now we can create our base foundation and proceed. But sometime even after 10 years, if we're still not very clear about what exactly we want, so then maybe we need to pause, take a pause, and do some serious introspection, at the same time retrospection of whatever happened during those 10 years. And trust me, I didn't do any of this in my own case, and that's why I would be the first one to advocate that we should do it. That makes life much better. It might slow down the career a little bit, but it'll definitely make life much better. So coming back again to structured decision making. So we already have done this assessment in terms of our natural alignment and our skill mapping ability, right? So that basically is very essential, which again we would be doing that assessment. This has not been shared with our members yet. So all of us who have done both the natural pathway assessment as well as skill mapping, so we will have a new set of report for all of you in terms of seeing the alignment of values. So basically, like how we are naturally aligned and how we are after a certain experience, if we match it, so that basically gives further more clarity, which is again one of the core objective of CareersPlus anyway, in terms of giving more clarity. Then of course, learning potential in everything that we do, need to see what is the learning potential over there. Long-term relevance, that anything that we come across, what will be its impact for the future, both short-term and long-term. And then of course, trade-off. Sometime, life, we might have to do this trade-off, that we might have to get something go off. It's very essential to know what are the things that we need to go off our system. So, and it can be anything. It can be even, like for example, it can be anything as basic as our urge to be a hero by helping others at the time of need, even though we go out of the way of our own level of comfort. A lot of us do, a lot of us do that. Okay, we may not have enough resource to help ourselves, but when we see someone in a distressed situation, we would still go, and which is a very good human way of doing it. But then again, if it hurts us, it's eventually, so because we need to see it from that perspective, that we're in a position to help someone only if we ourselves are very strong. So that's why we really have to focus on our own well-being first, so that we can be useful to self first and then to the people around us. Okay, things like that. So this can also be a trade-off, just to give an example, right? So that's why, like good decisions, always consider both opportunity as well as the consequence. So we have to be very mindful about it. And okay, I already have told about this, so maybe, sorry, I just spoke a bit. So trade-offs are inevitable, as I mentioned. So why? Because like some, okay, this slide actually gives some very clear examples, like in addition to what I said, high income versus time flexibility. I believe it's clear, right? So basically, I already explained earlier that if we really want to have a very posh savvy, lifestyle right from the beginning, that means we really need to work very hard, and then we may not have enough time to enjoy whatever comes our way, right? So we have to choose that, okay, like we want to be having enough income to live a good life, and then so that what is the balance? What is time flexibility and what is high income? The definition is different to different people, right? So we need to define that precisely, that okay, this much of income to me is high and this much of time is enough for me to live a good life. So how do we do it? Same thing, stability versus risk, because they are all contradictions, right? Like if we want to have very stable lifestyle, but at the same, because we are risk adverse, but the income scenario that we foresee for ourselves, we need to take some risk. So how do we balance it, and what we have to use as a trade-off to let it go so that we maintain the balance? So things like that. Okay, so the goal is never to avoid any trade-off, but to have clarity so that we can choose very consciously. Because a lot of time, some unconscious impulsive trade-offs can eventually create serious regrets in long term. Now, I think these life traps we discussed several times, so it's more of a repeating slide over here, but in the same line, I think we already have covered it. Let's not follow people simply because, let's not do things simply because others are doing with certain level of success. It just may not be the right choice of things for us. A lot of time we overvalue the short-term gains without seeing the futuristic implications. Health and relationships, I think we spoke enough already about it, and delaying important decisions. So sometimes what happens, we think too much, we get too conservative, and a good decision might get delayed, and by the time the decision is taken, it may not have that level of impact anymore. So we just have to be, so you see at the end, this thing goes back to the very basic fundamental thing we have been talking all this while, clarity. Clarity about what we want and how do we want to achieve it, right? And this is why, again, we are going with the very basic tools of CareersPlus, which many of us already have, filled in, that knowing our natural, alignment, and knowing, based on whatever we have experienced in life so far, our key strengths and skills. So that's why this awareness prevents all these avoidable mistakes. And okay, in terms of building flexibility into life, it is actually quite similar to what we discussed about having diversification in career choices, the same thing. So it always helps us to stay in staying adaptable. We keep on learning continuously if we are flexible, and then we have a better sense of accepting the changes. Because a lot of time we might come with mindset that any change is good. But of course, if we have flexibility and an ability to look things with a broader perspective, so automatically we can accept things. And then, I just put, actually order is a bit wrong out there in the slide, revisiting priorities. Because revisiting priorities is actually not some imbalance. Sometimes people might think that, once they got their priorities sorted, so they just stick to it. But no. If we have flexibility, then we actually see that maybe our original perception about the priority was wrong. So then we can revisit and get the priorities reset in the right direction. So that's why the rigid plans, while the rigid plans may break, the flexible plans definitely help us to evolve. So how to say, like balance versus priorities, it's again another myth. So a lot of time, balance is seen as an equal focus at all time, but this balance is not talking about equal focus at all time. It is about giving adequate focus to all the aspects at all time. Okay? Because depending on our priorities, the requirement of focus at all the aspects may not be same. And at different stages, the priorities definitely shift, right? Because early career, we already have come across this, that in the early career stage we focus only on skill building, right? So at that point in time, if we just talk about we need to maintain equal balance, so we need to maintain balance, we need to put equal focus. So we will give equal focus on learning something new to making money. Automatically, the balance at that stage means giving more focus on learning over money, right? Similarly, mid career, it's more about growth and stability. So at that point in time, maybe the shift comes more towards money, because we need to, while we're growing, but so that's why learning and perhaps financial aspect, where the focus grows a bit more on the other things, like remaining vigilant, remaining taking risk. Over there, focus might get low. That is the balance. But once at the later stage, when by that time we have the clarity, by that time we have the foundation, so then the focus should be on the things that how we can make the impact. By that time, maybe things like how we can earn more money or how we can learn more, maybe focus on that should slightly be lower, but on the things that can make impact, that can create legacy, which can create some, benefit for someone else. So that's what it is. So balance is not putting equal focus on all the components. No, balance is about giving adequate focus on each component as per the demand. So that's what I think it's very essential for one to get that thing sorted out. Then only we can prioritize things in the right manner. So that's why life is always dynamic, and priorities they always evolve with time. So yeah, I mean, personal life framework. So it's again a kind of a reflection, but we still have the reflection slide too, I believe, right, Tungish? Yep. So personal life framework is basically like we can make a framework for ourselves. So that and then and this question, if we ask ourselves maybe every 2 years, the answers might change, which is very good for us to go in. I think we can all do it. It's not just a final reflection. It's just an exercise that we all can do. That if we can put it like, what matters most to me. So that basically, we can just put blindly a list of things, maybe in the descending or ascending order of priorities, right? That what I'm working toward, to meaning what we are doing to define those priorities. It has to, and a lot of time it might happen when we ask what matters most to me, we may not have the answer. Or we may have the answer, but then when we say, what am I working towards this? We may not have the answer against each of the what matters most thing. And then we can identify the gap. It goes to the gap identification, see? Right, like recently one of our consulting companies now working on providing support in reorganizing a very reputed company in nearly 3/4 of a century in the industry, where one of the key things that we are doing is a gap analysis. So this gap analysis, it is not applicable only for a company to identify the gaps. It's even for us. It's very relevant. We all have lots of gaps, and we have to fill in those gaps, right? So that's why the moment we answer these questions, we get those gaps actually identified, and then maybe a new thing comes, that how do we fill them in, right? So number 3, what habits support this now? See, that means suppose the first 2 are perfect. We exactly know our priorities. We exactly know that what we are doing to achieve them. But then we have that skill, or that like, if some of the things we feel that the thing that is highest up in our priority, and then the action that we need to do. So for example, I'm just giving like a wild this thing. So suppose someone is earning money by playing music, right? So basically, the person that, if suppose, just let's put it this way. Suppose I ask this question to me, that what matters most to me? Okay, I really need some good money, very quick money. And what am I doing towards it? That okay, maybe I have some skill in music, so I would rather, and I got a chance because a good friend of mine has so and so facility where I can perform and get paid. So I want to start doing this. And then third question, that okay, if that's my hobby as well, right? I'm just giving like so, you know. So basically, it's part of my daily habit. You see, so that the process, it's all aligning. It's all aligning properly, right? But it doesn't happen so straightforward or so easy, right? So obviously, when we answer all these three things, number four, we will definitely know that, well, maybe this thing that we thought as priority, for which I have to do this thing, it doesn't even fall in any of my habits. And how am I supposed to be successful in it? Then okay, we decide, okay, maybe I should avoid it. You see, this is a sequence. If we go in this sequence, then we have the clarity. Again, it's all about Careers Plus Plus, all about clarity. See, because if we just start talking, what should I avoid? How do we know what do we have to avoid if we don't even look into ourselves, right? Right? So that's why we just need to ask ourselves this question in that sequence, that okay, what matters most to me? What am I doing to achieve that? And what are my because we know ourselves the best. So which habit in me is supporting these actions? And then we might find, oh, I need to do this, but actually my habits don't even support them, or maybe I might have to at least give this thing up. So then we define the boundaries, because you see, everyone has 24 hours, in a day. But some of us make a lot more impact in those 24 hours, and some of us might be spending most of it daydreaming, right? Why? Why? Because we still don't have the tools to support the skill that is needed to justify what we think as a priority. That means our priority itself is wrong. If something is priority where we don't even have the tools to deliver it, so we should better get it changed, right? So that's the thing. So that's why, like, this clarity always simplifies the entire process of making decisions. So from thinking to action, so automatically, like, if we just keep on planning without taking any action, so automatically it has no value. I think it's the rocket science. So let's start with some small, consistent steps, at least some growth. Make some realistic small goals, and then we measure the progress. So it's simple as that. Because I think we come across a situation which I have even noticed quite a few times in AIT. I think. Or not just the area. I think many times it happens in the education institutions where we are all in very much into academia, a lot of research and this and that, and then we tend to have our small coffee groups. I think at the AIT campus we have the UFM, in front of UFM, quite a few people sit together, right? And in those ones we plan a lot of things for the world, not for ourselves. Maybe that. How Mr. Trump should run USA, or how Iran should react, and sometimes we have the solutions for everything in the world, and then after we are satisfied with our emotional or intellectual vomiting, or whatever we call it, diarrhea, and then we suddenly remember that we have to just go back home, take some food, and then sleep. So a lot of time these things happen, so we just have to just put on a lighter note. So when it happens, so basically, yes, in our plans we can solve all the global problem, but if we don't do anything, then it's of no value, right? So let's focus on that thing as well. Let's plan on the things that we think that we can act upon. That's the whole essence of having this slide. That let's spend our time on planning something where we can be useful, we can act upon. Otherwise, it's just some self pleasure. Reflections. So I think we have already the frame already had a lot of this thing, but okay, just a general reflections as we have with every session. That what kind of life do I want to build? What are my top 3 priorities today? What trade-offs am I willing to accept? What step can I take this month? So let's ask this question to ourselves, and with the existing level of clarity that we do have, let's do it. Get the answers, and I believe we all remain together with our follow-up steps during next 3 sessions that we have for here, and of course during the second semester too. And then after that, let's ask all these reflection questions to ourselves again, and let's see the answers change or not, because that will define the level of clarity that we do have, so how Careers Plus can guide in this aspect. So, like, first of all, in terms of lack of clarity, which I've been trying to repeat again and again, this is very essential. And of course, in Careers Plus, the ones who already has taken deep dive into, you already know that that clarity provision is one of our core objective, and we are bound to provide that. In terms of decision making difficulty, again, we provide we can work together on getting the structured clarity, and once with more clarity in terms of our and the strategy at the same time, I think it's easier to get the right set of decision. If there is any imbalance between career and life, okay, let's recognize what's happening at the moment and together with us, and then we definitely can help in setting the right boundaries and then create the sustainable habits that can remove that imbalance. And if there is any uncertainty, again, right, in terms of like we already discussed during our 3 penultimate slides in this discussion, so we can do that thing together. Each individual would have different different outcome of that. So any one of you want to do that exercise together, we're more than welcome. We can do it together, and definitely like I've been saying, that Careers Plus the core objective we have is to create a well-designed, well-thought-out, well-planned life, not just a career, with the core focus being cutting down the negative energy to the extent possible. So the stock keeping unit that we have, I think it's quite similar to the one that we had for the previous session as well. It's a life planning workbook, 1, 3, 10-year planning template, and then decision-making framework tool that basically helps us in doing things. Obviously, each of these SKUs will go quite in depth during second semester. And that's pretty much it for today's workshop. So let's move ahead for our interactive sessions now. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bergav. I would like to invite the co-founder, Professor Dieter Trau. If you have anything to add, sir, please feel free to add.
Yeah, thank you, Jennifer. So if I look back, I should have something like this before in my life, because I also must admit I didn't do really much planning. I was focusing too much on my jobs, on my career, and things like this. Okay, sometimes it turned out okay or good, but that was just maybe also luck in my case. So I think it's a good thing to do a little bit more planning and really figure out what you really want, and not only concentrate on your career.
Yeah, I think we are what we are putting forward here, right, Professor, is basically the things that we missed in our own growth process, right? So because of that, we come across a lot of negative energy.
That's right.
So basically, Maybe not everyone is as fortunate as we are in terms of being resilient in resisting all this negative energy. So, yeah, I mean, the thing is that while the whole world is focusing towards getting more and more combative and confronting, well, we have to make ourselves strong enough to resist any such thing that comes our way. But at the same time, to the extent possible, let's avoid it. Yeah.
Yes.
I agree. Planning really gives some clarity. Even a simple journaling, in my part, I started again. So we can just, at least write down our goals, as we already mentioned,
Yeah.
and it really clears the mind.
Yeah,
I
it does.
completely agree.
It does. It does.
Oh yeah, write down things on a piece of paper and look it up the next day and so on. That's
Yeah, I
always
think
good.
that frame thing is a very
Yeah.
important.
Only thing.
That really helps a lot.
Yeah, yeah. No, because you see, and sometimes to put it in the right perspective, in the right sequence, like I said, right? A lot of time, actually, the wrong thing happens is we start finding what we should omit out, but without doing the real, due diligence. How do we know what to omit out, right? That's where a lot of time we tend to get wrong. Yeah. So any question
Okay,
from?
we invite some questions.
Yeah, the floor now is open for questions. So if you guys have questions, feel free to ask. Okay, Tungish, you have a question, please.
Thank you for this session. I just have one question, sir. So, like we've been hearing about this a lot about spirituality, spiritual practice. So, I just wanted to ask, how important is spirituality when we plan our life, or when we architect, or like when we architect our life?
Well, it's very important, but as long as it's the spiritual in the right sense, because there are two kinds of spiritualism, right? One thing is actually learning the real self, to get maintain like sort of like a mental balance. Yeah, if that is the objective here, it should be. I mean, that gives a lot more clarity. So the kind of spirituality I'm talking about, not just just put some music on and count at 56 minutes. I have to, push myself to keep my eyes closed and keep my mouth shut, and then waiting with a bit like, with extreme listening at the moment this music finishes, though I can just, get back normal. That sort of spirituality may not help. It might add some more agony to our mind, right? But when we talk about the positive spirituality, meaning what? Like figure out a way that makes us calm, that makes us positive. It can be anything. The thing that makes us calm in our mind, make us more positive, more constructive. Yes, that's spiritualism. So yeah, whosoever focuses on things like that, very good. But thing is that forcing something upon us in the name of spiritualism, well, that is another kind of a torture. That's how I would see it. Yeah.
Yeah, I also agree with that. Having a belief will really help for your goal, because you have to believe in something, right? There's a higher goal that you have to believe in. And if you're like just randomly believing something, then you have to check on that as well. So yeah, spirituality is very important. Really, as you mentioned also, relationship, right? Relationship is very important. So what's your relationship in terms of relationship with God, relationship with people, relationship with others? Yeah.
It's very essential, yeah. But just the process has to be important, because I come across a lot of people who likes to use theory, or like people like us who are more from this technical background. So they would simply say, okay, this chanting 108 times, without any failure, you have to do it 108 times, something like that to get. So whenever things become too, like how to say, too rigid, right? So then how it can give us, like, like certain people do this spiritual tool where they'd be kept in a room, these things really exist, where people would go on some spiritual event and they would be told that, okay, for next 14 days, cut off yourself from mobile phone, this, that you cannot call back home. Then even in the room, the people have to stay back to back so they don't talk to each other. Well, that is, if someone really wants to create some mental resilience, or so, it's good. You're creating some, but the thing is that if that is seen as a spirituality, maybe that may not be the thing, So for us, what both myself and Miss Jennifer try to say is that spirituality is something that makes us calm, positive, and more productive. Like yes, belief is very important too.
Yeah.
And
You don't believe just anything, random things.
Yeah.
You have to do your own research as well. Yeah, because it's dangerous out there, right? There are so
It is.
many
It is.
cults as
It is.
well, so really have to check properly.
Sometime maybe very much misconception as well.
Misconception is a lot, and
Yeah,
believe
yeah.
in another things that are not really good. So we have to really check.
I think one simple thing that okay, we can always have those discussions as well as a part of an extension of Careers Plus Plus. But in fact, we are initiating our health initiative, right? So we'll definitely add that thing into the play. But if we can tend to understand just simply one thing, right? That we all come with a destiny to this earth, and there is some, there must be some like supernatural intervention that's basically running the show, right? So we all come with our destiny, and if we focus on being the best version of ourselves, that should be enough in terms of fulfilling whatever is the purpose. That's the thing. Of course, that helps big time. Any other question?
No, no, I think even in chat, I think there's no more question.
All right, I think yeah, we are very. So next session, I think we are talking about how to look after. We are going off road a little bit. I think we are talking more about how to look after our finances or something, right? So that'll be okay. We just thought that let's now focus on the positive. Sorry, on these practical aspects as well, because we've been talking about the importance of financial well-being and financial balances. So next session would be having an in-depth session about, because you see, the moment we start earning ourselves, so there are quite a few things that we should be very much familiar with. So that's what we are going to discuss in depth during our next session this coming Wednesday. Yeah.
Yes. So be sure to join us for our next session. We will talk about money essentials for young professionals. So with that, I think our session for today is finished. And we hope to see you again next session on Wednesday for another session of Careers Plus Plus. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you, Professor Dieter. Thank you, Mr. Bergav.
If you found this content useful, please hit like and subscribe our Careers Plus Plus channel. Thank you.